Good morning, welcome to the part 2 of this lecture on history and evolution of vine architecture. We will start with a very short presentation on what we call vine on trees. 6. As the vine is a liana, it will need a physical support to grow, except in dry condition as we already saw. This is an example from the 16th century of a vine growing in a tree. Obviously, it seems that this is a wild vine. In the 19th century and before, growers did associate two cultures like fruit trees and grapevine. The fruit trees were maple, cherry, plum tree, mulberry, etc. And you see on the photos, on the drawings, that you can implement very easily this kind of training system. On the left hand side, you will see that you can increase the crop by implementing a pergola associated with vine in trees. Dead trees were also used to support vine in tree. As a vine is a liana, as you can see, you can create interesting training systems with vine growing in trees. The French name was vigne en hautain. This is an example of vine trained on tree. It's a dead tree, it's an open system. It's a sort of very big and open goblet, if I may say. I saw this training system in some collections in Italy. Okay, let's move to the VSP, which is a training system which is trellised. And in the world, 70% of vineyards are planted with VSP. So in the 19th century and before, people used wooden poles, and now, of course, they use wire. Different example of VSP with the double cordon, the cane pruning, arch pruning for cane pruning, and mechanical pruning as well with edge. Again, don't be confused between pruning systems and training systems. For example, a bilateral cordon can be trellised or not. This is certainly among the first drawings representing cane pruning or guyot pruning. Another example of guyot pruning, and you see that the primary shoots are trellised. I will show you some photos or drawings now, so we are going I will present fastly now. So this is what we call a sylvose. So as you see, the primary shoots, the canes are bent towards the soil, and this is allowing a nice bench microclimate. I saw some sylvose in New Zealand for Sauvignon Blanc. So as I said, now I'm going to show you some drawings so I can go faster. So this is an example of a training system called palmette. This is a sort of VSP allowing to increase the wood, so the carbohydrate reserve. This is a sort of Chablis. Chablis is a training system used in Champagne. Another example of training system, and the pruning system here is a double cane pruning. Another example of trellised vine using two poles, and again it's cane pruning. Another example of vine trained within poles for trellising, and this was used close to Champagne in Aube. You will recognize here what we call a taille médocaine. So it's a VSP, a very low VSP, and it's a double cane pruning. And you see again, those days, growers did use wooden pickets or poles. And then the question is why the vines are very low. It's just about mechanization. You will see that most vineyard plantation or most training system which are used are reasoned according to mechanization and cost. And La Taille Médocaine was very low in order to enable the passage of ploughs drawn by cattle, as we can see here on this drawing. So again, it's about mechanization. The adaptation of the vineyard, cultural practices, training system, pruning system were about mechanization. A nice example of harvest at Château Lafite in the 19th century, 1868. So just have a look at the picture and you will understand everything. Very nice picture indeed. Very low training system, though the question which could be addressed is about bunch microclimate and wine quality, but it seemed that it worked very well because from this way of doing was born the classification of the Grand Cru in Bordeaux. So it seemed that it was working in terms of wine quality. From Bordeaux to Champagne, and this is an example of Vignon Full. Vignon Full, it was a very high density vineyard, about 15,000 to 30,000 cuttings per hectare. So the vineyards were planted with cuttings, and each year the cuttings were renewed. So when powdery mildew and downry mildew came, obviously growers, they had to spray, and you can imagine that spraying with such a high density is not obvious. Normally, because of botrytis and because such high density, the grapes were harvested a bit green because of, or under maturation because of problem of botrytis and problem of bunch microclimates, as you can imagine. A lot to say about the evolution of training system, but we don't have that much time. I will provide you with some publications. Then, to enable people to spray, they did organize the vines in rows. And this is again about mechanization with horses. And to me, and not only to me, but to some historian people or researchers, the origin of high density is coming from these days. It's not about quality, it's because in those regions like Champagne and Burgundy, people were used to high density, so when they started mechanization, they had to organize vines in rows, and then they put a high number of vines per hectare, at least 10 to 15,000 those days. Around 1950, after World War II, it was possible to see again some Vignon Full in Champagne. And then, as well, people started to organize everything in rows. But you see that those days, the height of the vegetation was quite low. This is the Chablis training and pruning system in Champagne nowadays. So, where to find Espalier or VSP in France? A bit everywhere, Champagne, Val de Loire, Burgundy, Bordeaux, etc. This training system has been adopted because of mechanization, mainly because of mechanization. Then the question of number of vines per hectare, density of plantation, it's another topic. So as I said, most vineyards in the world, they use VSP, which can be trellised or not. So this is what we call a VSP, as you already know now. So let's do a bit of a tour de France of vineyards and to have a look of the landscape, magnifique, beautiful landscape. And most of the slides now will be about the VSP. You will find VSP in Alsace, in Burgundy. Again, Burgundy during winter, cane pruning. In Chablis, very, very nice wines. In Baume de Venise, in the south of France. When you look at those vines as if you remember, these are goblets which has been transformed for mechanization. The point here is it could seem to you that this vineyard is a bit like a mess. But my point here is don't judge a vineyard just by looking at the training system or the plantation density, etc. Wine quality and wine style, it's a bit more complex than just having very nice and well-organized vineyard. The terroir effect, sometimes it's a bit of magic. VSP in Languedoc, VSP in Portugal, VSP in the Tupungato area in Argentina, 2000 meters of high above the sea, fully irrigated. They are fetching the water 200 meters below the soil. VSP in Curico Valley in Chile. The Sprawling training system, which is used in Australia in many regions, everything is mechanized, so here pruning is mechanized. And we call it a Sprawling training system because it's not trellised. And to me, it's a very clever and qualitative training system for many reasons, as by not trellising, you increase the exposed leaf area, you protect the clusters, the bunches, so it's quite, physiologically speaking, it's quite clever. And when you take a photo below the canopy, you see a very nice canopy and cluster microclimates. The pergola, number 5. There were, I don't know exactly now, but a few years ago, there were a lot of pergola in Brazil. This is a photo from Brazil. This training system is not really qualitative, as you can imagine, and it's mainly used for, as we can see here, the pergola is a nice way to increase the exposed leaf area and to have a nice bunch microclimate. But it's a bit a complicated training system because it is not allowing mechanization. Some tools have been developed in Chile, for example, to mechanize the harvest using the pergola, but it's not working well. Under a pergola, it's a nice place to be, to take the aperitif. Now something which is coming back because of climate change or because of ecology, I don't know, it's to plant vines with other plants or species. In the 19th century, it was really common to have vines. You see here vines in goblet, cereals and olive trees. I saw a bit of those vignes intercalaires in France. I saw that in the south of France and in Portugal. It's coming back for many reasons. This is an example of vigne intercalaire in Portugal. So you see that you have vine in goblets and olive trees. And why not? At the beginning of the lecture, I spoke about small training system and big training system. And since 1950, people like Richard Smart or Alain Carbonneau or Giovanni Carniello, all these researchers, they have developed new training systems. This is an example which is called the double curtain. The double curtain in the collection of training system at Montpellier Supagro, which is called now l'Institut Agro. Something which is a bit particular is the minimal pruning training system. Minimal pruning meaning you don't prune anymore 3 years after the installation of the cordon. An example of minimal pruning, this is a 16 years old minimal pruning at Supagro collection. Minimal pruning during summer, a bit before. The lyre, which is a big training system. The problem with the lyre is that this training system does not allow mechanization for harvest. The smart Dyson. So this lectures is based on articles that I wrote with Professor Alain Carbonneau and Professor Gilbert Garrier. Gilbert Garrier is an historian. I want to attract your attention on the fact that Carbonneau and Carniello, they wrote a dictionary of training system which was published many years ago, and which is coming from 20 years of discussion and research, mainly within the GSCO. So thanks for your attention, and we will provide you with the related publications. Keep well.